Good morning, everybody. Today I am going to take you through the history of film just so you can get some background on this and be able to know where exactly music comes in and how important it's been in the development of films throughout the years. Most people consider the first film having been made in 1891. This was the first moving pictures, which is most people's definition of what film is. And back then, you still weren't able to watch it on a screen just yet. As you can see in the picture on the right, this man is using a device called the kinetoscope. This was invented by Thomas Edison's employee, pretty ingenious contraption there for its time. But the viewer looked through the eyepiece to watch a strip of film that ran through and was lit up by a light bulb. Now, these first films ever were only about 20 seconds long because it was pretty difficult to put it together. So, I'm going to show you what they consider to be the very first film ever. See if you can see what this guy is doing.
From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, so, first film ever. It's a guy sneezing. I think that's pretty funny. Moving along, we have in 1895, they had the first ever movie theaters. So by this time, they were able to replace that old kinetoscope and put movies onto a screen where multiple people could watch and experience it together. And these were created by the Lumiere brothers. They invented a device called the cinematographe, and this had multiple different functions, which is pretty ingenious. They used it as a camera to film it. They used it as a film printer to get the strip of film to project, and then it was also a projector itself. So it did three different things at the same time, so that now films could be projected onto a screen and people could make money. Audiences could pay to watch films in a theater. These films were still very short, not quite 20 seconds, but every showing in the theaters had 10 films, and these showings lasted about 15 minutes, so about a minute and a half on average per film. So here is one of the first movie theater films. I think they call this one the first comedy. Yeah, so that was what humor was like back then. Now, you did probably notice that there was music along with this, and the first films did often have music. However, while the music sounded like it fit the mood of this scene, they didn't make music specifically for each film at this time. That came later around the 1920s. For now, they took works of classical music and they would play it just while the images were being projected. So they didn't really line up the sounds just yet, but they get to that later. In 1902, this is when the films were first starting to be made with color, which is a big step and made more people want to watch films. Back in the earlier days, the artists hand drew the color on the frames of the film. And this took a really long time. So to kind of speed up the process, make it a little bit easier, Around 1906, they invented the Cinemacolor process, and this was a three-color process, which added the colors of, I think, red, green, maybe blue, and this was added to each frame to make films a little bit more colorful, not fully colored, but a little bit more so, and also more affordable to produce. So I'm going to give you a warning right now. If you are sensitive to flashing lights or things that are bright or blinking, you can definitely feel free to look away. But I think this video is kind of cool to show how they add colors to film, at least in those days. So, as you could probably see, they did have to make some edits at the end, and the films weren't exactly accurate to, the real colors that we see, but this was still a really big development in film. And of course, you can hear the music in the background that had multiple functions. It helped to drown out the sound of the projector clicking along, but it also, gave people a multi-sensory experience and did help set the scene, despite the fact that it wasn't specifically created to line up with the film just yet. In 1914, this is when they consider the film industry to become a thing. So films were becoming more popular because of this color, because they were being made with better quality, and people were spending money to see them. So starting in Europe, they established their own national film industries. These industries were able to make money from their movies, so they could spend more money to produce movies, as well as larger cinemas or movie theaters. The films were longer, and they were able to tell a story, beginning, middle, and end. During World War I, the European film industry was kind of set back a little bit, just because war reduces countries' financial stability and any other kind of stability. So during that time, the U.S. film industry started to catch up to them. So in 1927, this is when they consider the year that synchronized sound was added to films. So there was sound, but synchronized sound is different because you're able to line it up exactly. There is a strip, if you can see the picture in the bottom right. Now on strips of film, you can see in those larger rectangles, those would be where the images are. But just to the left of that, this is where the sound waves are. So the soundtrack is recorded along the edge of the strip of film. So it lines up perfectly with what's going on the screen. Now, the first film to have synchronized sound was called The Jazz Singer. And I'll play a clip of that for you now.
You ain't heard nothing. You want to hear Toot Toot Tootsie? All right, hold on. No, listen. Play Toot Toot Tootsie. 3 chorus, you understand? In the 3rd chorus, I whistle. Now give it to them hard and heavy. Go right ahead. Toot Toot Tootsie, goodbye. Toot Toot Tootsie, don't cry. The little choo-choo train that takes me away from you. You don't know just how sad it makes me. Kiss me pretty and then, ow, do it over again. Watch for the mail, I never fail. If you don't get a letter again, you know I'm in jail. Hey, don't cry, Tootsie, don't cry. Kiss me, Tootsie, goodbye.
So, first synchronized sound, and it was a big hit, obviously, because no one had ever seen that before. The first awards show happened in 1929, so film industry is growing. Now they can synchronize sound, and at this point, they decided to recognize achievements in film, many different categories, and the winners were determined by the Academy's voting members. Other awards shows for musicians, for theater, for things like that, the Emmys, Tonys, Grammys, they were modeled after the Oscars or the Academy Awards. From the 1930s through the 40s, this is considered the golden age of Hollywood. So with the invention of synchronized sound, movies became most popular form of entertainment at that time. So they say the average person went to the theater twice a week. So movies were making lots of money if you think of all the people in the US and Europe, and they're going twice a week. That is great for the film industry. So this gave rise to picture palaces, which are ginormous movie theaters that could seat more than 3,000 people. You can see in the picture on the right an example of a picture palace. There's so many rows, and there's also a balcony seating area. Now, we're not going to watch this video right now, but we'll get to it later because it's very interesting. In 1952, films started to decline, and this was because television became more popular. People were able to watch things in their homes instead of going out and paying for each different thing. So to keep up the interest in movies, movie theaters created a curved screen, and they used 3 different projectors. So this kind of gave audiences a little bit more of an immersive experience. What that means is that it felt a little bit more like they were in the movie. If you've ever been to like an IMAX movie theater with a ginormous screen, or like a 3D movie with the glasses, that's kind of a little bit what they're trying to get at here. So this, along with the surround sound, made the audiences feel like they were part of the movie. In 1967, they call this the beginning of New Hollywood, and they call it that because there was a different mindset about making movies, about techniques they used. So these new filmmakers, they weren't afraid to do things that were a little weird. They might use handheld cameras. They might go into themes that hadn't been explored in films in the past, some deeper themes such as, racism, civil rights, war, things like that. So this allowed for many iconic films to rise to the surface, including Jaws. I don't know if you've seen Jaws, but you definitely know the theme song. There's also The Godfather and Taxi Driver were two other big ones. The blockbuster mentality was a mindset that filmmakers needed to advertise and very heavily market their films in order to get the most box office sales, get the most money, and be able to make more films. So that is it. Hopefully, you were able to fill in your timelines, but definitely send me an email or ask me once I get back if you have any more questions on this. And I hopefully will see you guys again soon. Have a good day.